Welcome to the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Miley, an IFS-informed certified trauma recovery coach. This show features interviews from survivors all over the world as they share their impactful story of thriving in their post-traumatic growth. We explore resources, tools, and coping skills to support the trauma survivor community. Enjoy. Hello, Trauma Survivorhood podcast listeners. Before we dive into today's next amazing interview, I just wanted to let you know about the upcoming May workshop that I'm going to be holding on Thursday night, May 16th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This month's workshop is going to be focused on self-care. Ooh, what a buzzword, right? So why is self-care such a buzzword? What is self-care? What isn't self-care? Also, what is the brain science behind this big importance? Why is there so much emphasis for trauma survivors to have a self-care routine? Why is it even necessary? And also, how in our busy world, especially if we're trauma survivors on a healing journey, how can we find and make time for regular self-care? So $15 per person. Link is below in the show notes. I look forward to seeing you there. All right, welcome back to the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Miley. I'm an IFS-informed trauma recovery coach, and I have with us today Jen Greenhut. Jen, thank you so much for joining us. Jennifer Greenhut is a stage 4 triple negative breast cancer thriver. She inspires patients to overcome a negative diagnosis, understanding that everything is for their own healing. In 2017, she founded Zero Negative Foundation, an online shop with a purpose store. The foundation helps women overcome cancer with loving gratitude and also to give back to the cancer center that saved her life. The collection donates a portion of all proceeds to cancer research at UCLA's Johnson Cancer Center. Before cancer, Jen was a U.S. national gymnastics team member, an actress, a singer, songwriter, yoga teacher, and a published author. Her new memoir, called Everyone Needs a Larry, was co-written with her husband, Larry Tolan. Together, they told their story both as a patient and a caregiver from their different perspectives. It's a quirky, romantic, humorous survival story that shares the lessons, mistakes, and joys of a couple that are fumbling their way through cancer, love, and marriage. Since launching, Zero Negative has raised thousands of dollars for the Johnson Cancer Center, and Jen is now 6 years cancer-free and counting, and she still feels grateful every day. Jen, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. Tell us a little bit about what this journey has been like from you going through all of this terrible cancer, moving forward, and then creating this beautiful foundation.
That's a very big question. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, it's all a journey. Life's a journey. I still feel like I'm on this ride that's constantly flowing and I'm constantly processing living. But it started out as a young gymnast. I left home at 14, trained for the Olympics. I got so much out of it, but I also was like a soldier in a war. You're trying to be perfect. You're trying to get tens. You're only as good as how you compete and how you look. And it's all about like what you look on the outside, never about what you are feeling on the inside. And I learned how to keep everything inside. I learned how to just be tough and be strong. And that's what was needed for the sport. Cut to 40 years later, diagnosis of stage 4 triple negative breast cancer. And I was interviewing oncologists thinking I was going to die. And what I realized was that everything was about a broken heart, and it was all about the lack of love that I had for myself. It was kind of like a ding, ding, ding in a doctor's office. And I realized I was punishing myself for even getting a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. And I was like, Jen, what are you doing? Forgive. And I just started on this huge healing journey, self-love, and, rewinding the 40 years of my life that was such a hard critic for myself, always looking on the outside and not looking on the inside. And there's a lot of other steps that went through it, but that was sort of my main healing journey through stage 4 cancer. And it was also, there was a big thing. So my husband and I, Larry, we had just gotten married a year and a half before my diagnosis. So we were like in our newlywed stage, and we were also trying to have a baby because I was so wanting to have a family. And I met Larry later in life, but my doctors were like, you can still have a child. You might be work. You might have to go through IVF. So I went through in vitro fertilization, IVF 3 rounds. The first round I got pregnant, but I miscarried. Second round, I didn't get pregnant. The third round, I didn't get pregnant. And after I was feeling like the bottom of the bottom, feeling like, what if my dreams never do come true? And I was feeling so low and depressed. And then 4 months after that, I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And then I felt, okay, the universe is just trying to get rid of me. I didn't fulfill my purpose. I didn't fulfill having a child, having a family. So let's just get rid of her and give her another time. She'll come back and do it. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking I just failed. Again, the critique, the lack of purpose. And I was interviewing oncologists. Stage 4 to me felt like a death sentence. And with triple negative, it's the most aggressive breast cancer.
Yeah.
So I didn't look into the statistics, but knowing the statistics now is like I had a 10% chance. The first 2 oncologists I met were great doctors, but I wasn't getting the sense of like, I'm safe in their hands. So I was praying for a sign. Let me know what doctor to choose, because who I choose could be a matter of life or death type of thing.
Yeah.
So my doctor at UCLA, I immediately felt like really safe when I walked into the office, just noticing that. And then in the middle of the appointment, he had mentioned all of the times I was going through IVF. And he said, I have to tell you, you will never get pregnant, because with this type of cancer, we will have to remove your ovaries. But I just want you to know that if you did get pregnant when you were trying, the pregnancy would have killed you. And in that moment, I swear everything changed. I saw everything as like happening for me and not against me. My life was being saved by not getting what I wanted. And so maybe stage 4 cancer was also saving my life in a way. It was a gift. If not getting something was a gift, then maybe this is a gift too. And I just started looking at everything as a gift. And what can I learn? And I'm going to go on the ride. And I trusted my doctors so much. So I was able to put something in their hands. And my job was just finding out how to be happy and what I was supposed to learn. So I went into everything with this curious component, and also a desire and a passion to make stage 4 cancer the best thing that would happen to me and to Larry and our marriage, and not the worst thing. And I just sort of like believed I was going to live and it was going to be the best thing that happened to me. And that's exactly what happened. I will definitely say stage 4 cancer was the best thing to happen to us.
Wow. So much to unpack there. I love the way that you share your story, because so many things jump out at me. The way that you were saying you needed to kind of rewind 40 years of like this self-hatred kind of place, learning to forgive, right? Looking at things as a gift. These are not just buzzwords, right? Because this could be an Instagram post and we would hashtag the hell out of this. But this is your actual life in front of you here. So I'm curious about a couple of things. So when you heard the prognosis, it sounds like, the diagnosis, you said you were at a very, very low point because this had just happened to you. What were those emotions running through? What does it feel like? Like you kind of described it like the universe is trying to take you out. Like, what is the actual emotion there? Was it a rejection or an abandonment? Like, what was happening?
There was so much fear. There was so much disappointment that I felt like I knew how the world worked. I felt like I understood, like I thought I was supposed to be here for a long time. It like was like nothing made sense anymore. And life doesn't make sense. And I don't mean anything. And I didn't know anything. And I'm just, a piece of just a person that's going to be here and then not here. And it was just so sad and just so afraid, because it really showed me that I didn't know anything. I really thought life was special and we all have a purpose. And feeling that overwhelmed and like I didn't understand anything and that I was all wrong and life means nothing. That was just like such a horrible feeling.
Wow.
And that was basically a 2 week kind of thing as I was interviewing things. I also realized too, like the minute I got diagnosed, I was like, I can't believe I worried about having a child. All I want to do is stay alive. I can't believe I worried about getting a bigger house. All I want to do is be here. I don't care if I'm homeless. All I want to do is be alive. And everything I worried about felt so tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like not realizing that the gift I had so long was my life. And I just felt like I wasted my entire life, not realizing how special it was to be alive. I wasted my entire life not living, not enjoying the life that I had. And that was a huge like moment. And I just felt like it was too late. And that was like the worst feeling.
Yeah, it was such a different perspective. I'm also hearing, though, that there was this underlying belief that you always thought that every person was on this planet for a purpose and a reason. Like that was a big belief of yours. And you had so much discipline and you had a lot of determination, you know, Olympics and the training and all of this stuff. You had so much determination. So that it sounds like the diagnosis at first kind of rocked your whole identity. But underneath, when the dust settled, you still had that belief because then it was brought back to you
Yeah.
multiple
It made
times
sense.
later.
Yeah, I was able to make sense. Oh, I get it. I didn't fulfill my purpose. I can't anymore. So just get rid of her. She'll come back. Like really felt like I failed. And that's like the universe just saying, okay, you're done. We gave you enough chances.
Yeah.
You know, we gave you one last chance to meet you and you still can't do it. So just try again.
Yeah. And instead, it kind of blew open your whole world and gave you a whole new and
I
different
realized that I was so
purpose.
wrong and that like, oh my God, you were saving my life. My angels, my guides were saving my life. They weren't trying to get rid of me.
Mm,
And so it makes me see everything bad, good, all of it is always going to be a gift. And we
yeah.
just have to realize that the harder times are what's going to be the most beneficial
Yeah.
because it's going to teach us so much more
Mm,
than good thing.
yeah.
So if we just all like realize even getting cancer, yes, that's not the most fun thing to do, but if you see it, there's something that needs healing.
Mm,
So it's just you trying to explore and investigate, okay, what needs healing? And most of the time, it's like it's easy to know. Like I think we know, our higher selves know, and we really check in with ourselves what needs healing.
mm,
For me, it was just like a voice that came in. And it was like a ding, 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 ding. And it also made me think of all the chapters in my life that I judged myself as like horrible mistakes.
mm,
And like, why did I do that? That really screwed my life. And it made me see all of those mistakes were perfectly aligned and
yeah.
everything is always aligned. And
Mm,
our souls are always in charge. So
yeah.
just enjoy the life and being alive and go on the ride.
Mm,
And it it's like once you understand that, it never goes back. Yeah, I mean, of course I'll have bad days and of course I'll get sad and stuff, but it's like there's this underlining, I get to be sad. I get to have a bad day because if I was dead, I wouldn't have a bad day.
you have to
You
be
know,
here to have the mess
yeah, I
happen to
wouldn't be
you.
able to like have this horrible fight with my husband.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like I get to do it. I get to do all of it.
Wow, the good, bad, and ugly. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I definitely want to talk about your husband, Larry, and I want to get into the memoir. But there was another thing that you said in your opening answer that really struck me, and I think it might be really helpful for listeners. I don't want to bypass it. Um, because we know that in a lot of these situations, we can also endure another trauma on top of that, where now you have like medical trauma or doctors who don't believe your pain or doctors that tell you that there's no use, just let it go. There's doctors who can be really rude, right? So that can become a medical trauma. And you were saying when you were interviewing these different doctors to take on as your oncologist, you were not sensing safety and then you eventually were able to find safety. Can you tell us like how was that manifesting for you? How did you know that? What can people be looking for if they're going through something like that?
I didn't, all I knew is I wanted a sign. I wanted a sign, and I knew that I wanted to feel like I could put my life in this doctor's hands.
Mm,
And I knew I also had 3 oncologists to meet.
yeah.
So, one, I always tell patients don't go with the first person. Even if you feel so great about it, just meet other people and just get other opinions. Because if I didn't meet the guy at UCL and I just went with the first person that was like, we got to get started right away and hurry, 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 I probably wouldn't have been here, because I even know like their chemotherapy drugs would have been different than the ones that I got at UCLA.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize how important it is to trust the doctors that are supposedly, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if we're left untrusting them
Mm.
and questioning them, it's taking us away from what we need to worry about, our emotional baggage and everything that's going on. Let them handle that and I'll handle this. And so I didn't know if I would ever find someone. I didn't know. I just did. It happened. And thank God that it did, because I was so sure. It was such a gut instinct to pick the doctor that I did.
Yeah.
And my husband, Larry, also was freaked out that I picked this guy, because he wanted me to pick the second person because he thought he could have her nonstop on the phone whenever he had a problem, whenever he had a question. She would be more available. The guy that I chose was the head of research at UCLA. He was like really hard to get a hold of. And like we had one of our worst fights after I announced I'm going with him.
Wow.
He was like so angry at me. And he was just freaking out because he was afraid. And it was the first time that I felt, oh my God, I got this. So we were on such different pages at that time. But I'm so glad that I went with my gut. And that's so important, just to go with your gut and trust that you'll have a gut when, and if you even don't have a gut, just make sure you are able to trust the doctors and just, appreciate how far medicine has come. 10 years ago, stage 4 diagnosis would definitely be a death sentence.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we're so lucky. And that's one of the things that I really was like so grateful to give back to cancer research, because hopefully one day there will be a cure or a pill that will prevent cancer. But I also have realized like we can't just trust the doctors and medicine to fix us. It's a collaborative thing. As a patient, there's 50% of my responsibility. It's like a team. And so if I'm looking at it as also like, what do I need to change within myself? And you're giving me the medicine that is helping me at least understand what I need to do. So it's like there's this dance, and you're also trusting the medicine. I wasn't saying, oh, chemo, it's going to kill me, it's going to poison me. I was saying, oh my God, I'm so grateful to have this healing medicine that is possibly saving my life. So your body just like surrenders and opens to all of the stuff that chemo can get. Chemo's not easy, but if the intention is for it to get into the cancer cells and take those cells and turn them into non-cancer cells, then like, yes, love chemo, love radiation, love all that medicine can do. And also love that you've been picked to heal a part of something that's not working.
Yeah. Thank you for naming that. Let's talk a little bit more about that for you and for Larry, because it's this team collaboration, right? So your doctors, UCLA, and the medicine, they've got you on the medical side, but then you also had there's a lot of emotional stuff that comes with it. There's a lot of mental drain. Larry taking on this caretaker role, which is exhausting and can be terrifying, right? What's happening on that dynamic outside of the medication and the doctors?
So it's one of those things that Larry will say, as a caregiver, there's no secret to being a caregiver. You just show up and you are available for whatever is needed, even if it's a punching bag for your wife who's cranky and emotional. And you look at it like there's a big picture here. And if you can get behind, yes, the patient is like the star of the movie and the caregiver is just like the extra. So you have to be able to understand that's the role, but it's a chapter in this huge long life. And it'll help with communications. We ended up having like hard times, but we ended up writing to each other as opposed to being able to talk all the time. I was very expressive writing a letter, and we just started that routine, and it really helped us understand what was happening within ourselves, and just appreciate and hold space for the other person. As a caregiver, they should go out and like blow off steam and see their friends or have like a support group. And as a patient, you sort of let that happen. And I think a caregiver, especially if it's a husband, they want to just feel like appreciated and understood, like this is not easy for you or me. Both of us were just cast in this role. We didn't ask for this. But if we can just say, okay, what am I supposed to learn? And I was also supposed to learn how to be loved and how to receive love, not just from myself, but from other people. I had to just surrender because I needed help. I was never one that needed help. I was strong and, I did whatever I needed to do. And this was such a huge thing. And I think for a lot of women who give, like they have to be able to receive. There has to be a balance. And once that muscle was able to be like turned on, there's just like a different kind of feeling you get within. Just appreciation, like how amazing my friends are, how amazing my family is, how grateful and lucky I am to have such a great support team. Even my dog became a service dog, and he was with me throughout the whole thing, and he was so special. And he ended up having cancer after I did, and then he was a cancer survivor too. And I feel dogs, like they take on certain energy, and he came to possibly save my life as well. So it's just receiving help, and that was hard.
And support. And I'm hearing that word, that surrender word also, I think is really huge, because surrendering to Larry taking care of you and loving you, surrendering to him needing to also blow off some steam and go find himself some support. And it sounds like, I'm sure there was multiple missteps and all kinds of fumbles. And I know you talk a lot about that in the, in the memoir.
The first chapter, like
there's no way you can get it right on the first time. Neither one of you have done this.
My mother's foot was run over twice by my husband at our first oncology appointment, because we were all in such a rush and we're all freaked out. And he's like, get out of the car, I'll go park the car. So I get out of the car, my sister gets out of the car, my mom is getting out of the car, and he starts going, runs over her foot. We're screaming. He backs over her foot. Oh my God. It was like, you can't write that stuff, because my mom's like, go up, run, I'll be up there. And like my mom's comes up in a wheelchair with my husband. Thank God she wasn't, ruined. Her foot is fine. But that stuff just, it's stuff like that you just don't see happening.
Yes, you can't make that up. But of course, neither one of you had ever been through this journey before. So I can appreciate that. There's a lot of stumbling blocks and any kind of newness, right? And the stress, of course, is throwing off your nervous system at the same time too. So I can appreciate that. I love that. I'm going to have a link below to your memoir for people to be able to check that out and read. I know there's a lot of humorous stories and a lot of levity involved in, even though it's such a serious topic. And then also from this, of course, has come the Zero Negative Foundation. So tell us a little bit about that. I know you and another cancer survivor friend have started this. And how did that come about? What was the inspiration there?
The inspiration was basically, what am I learning through this journey? And it was the importance of self-love. Everything there's so much trauma that creates us to not love ourselves. And we have to rewind and go back and really find true love for ourselves. We find true appreciation and love for just being alive, and just gratitude for everything that we do have, because we can always look at what we don't have or what we do have. There's always something we have. And if we're even thinking about it, we have breath, we have life. That's something to be grateful for. So I really wanted to spread those messages of the importance of love and gratitude. And so I designed tote bags. They say love. They worked amazing as chemo bags. And then they just became like regular day bags. They're travel bags, they're gym bags, they're beach bags. They can do it all. And then from there blossomed into crossbody bags and makeup and bags and clutches. And I met another cancer survivor who was also like, she had stage 2 breast cancer, but she realized her journey was through COVID, and she realized how important it was to have people to support, because she felt so alone going through hers. So we turned Zero Negative, which was a company, into a foundation. And so now we're still doing accessories, we're doing clothing, we're doing like chemo kits for newly diagnosed patients. And eventually we're going to do like monthly seasonal subscription boxes just to kind of like keep supporting you along the way. And eventually also, it's not just about cancer, it's really about how do you survive and take your challenge and turn it into such an amazing gift and learning experience. So that's sort of what we want to do.
The collection is beautiful, but also the story behind it is really, really beautiful. Some of the tote bags are absolutely gorgeous, and it's such beautiful work that you guys have put these together. And I love this idea of the seasonal like care packages almost going out to people as they're going through it, which is really, really a beautiful idea. So I'm so grateful that you have survived your journey and you're thriving now on the other side, and then you're giving back, which is where so many survivors end up eventually going some kind of emotional or care support back to people who are going through it too. So I really thank you for taking the time to share your story with us today. We always like to ask all the guests at the end here, in your journey, what were some of the most important resources that helped you to stay stable and sane and heal while you were in it?
I did a lot of reading, and I also like there was one documentary that came out a little after my journey, but it was called Heal, Heal, Heal. And it follows like a lot of people, but the main person is a cancer woman who was on her deathbed. She died, saw her dad, learned about forgiveness, and she was forgiven by her dad and came back into her body and just understood everything, and her cancer left. And so it's all about like, how trauma is really in our body, and that to me is huge if we can understand that every disease, everything that's happening is based on some kind of energetic misalignment in our body if something's not working. What other stuff? I worked with a guy named Dr. Q who had a program during my remission all about deuterium depleting water and how important it is to drink water that is healthy, and it depletes deuterium because disease is high levels of deuterium in the body. And so I kind of just wanted to guarantee my chances and for remission. And so I went on his protocol for a while. I love researching like plant medicine and working with shamans and healing. I've been on such an amazing journey with that. I really recommend that for all humans, especially with people dealing with disease. And lymphatic drainage, I just found, which is now like I'm not trying not to get cancer, I'm just trying to be as healthy as possible. And I love that you see the toxins come out of your body on this towel, and depending on the color, the woman can say, like, if there's a major issue, she can even detect cancer depending on the color that's coming out on the towel. Or she can just say, oh, the body's flowing so perfectly, you're so healthy, and that's the colors, and it feels good too. So I feel like just that is such a great tool, especially if you're going through treatment. The lymphatic drainage massage from a right person. Not everybody can do it, probably.
Right, exactly. Yeah, those are some great resources. I'm going to have all those linked up in the show notes below, as well as to Zero Negative, as well as to the book. Tell people where they can find you, where are you active on socials, how can they reach out if they want to get in touch with you?
Amazing. And just, slowing down everything, meditation, yoga, just ways to get inside. I was also a journaler, a writer, so I love doing all of that stuff. But Love Zero Negative is my Instagram, Love Zero Negative. The foundation is the Zero Negative Foundation. The website is lovezeronegative.com. And the book is Everyone Needs a Larry, and you can find it on Amazon.
So beautiful. Jen, thank you again so very much for being here with us today, for sharing your story, for being so brave, for surviving and thriving and making an impact in the world. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye, Sarah. Bye.
Thank you for listening to or watching this episode of the Trauma Survivorhood podcast. Please subscribe, like, share, and follow. For any information that was discussed in this podcast episode, check out the show notes below. Until next time, be well.